In Albuquerque, we restrict our snow to the mountains. Most days. I'm David. Welcome to Foothills Paintbrush. Welcome to my kitchen nook. Every house should have a grand view window, something that connects it to weather and world. In this house, let's take a look. When I moved in 20 years ago, the first thing I did was take the screen off this nook window. Time and time again, a casual glance has sent me running for my camera. I usually shoot from the porch, but it's the nook window that always tips me off. Even after 2 decades, the surprises keep coming. Photographers on the road work with the conditions they find. On a West Texas trip last year, I captured this, and this, and this. How would each have looked earlier or later in the day? How would this appear in a different season or under different weather conditions? On the road, I rarely find out. That, of course, is the Kitchen-Nook Advantage. The mountains out there are the Sandias of central New Mexico, ancient fault blocks rising more than 3,200 meters above sea level. They dominate the sky of Albuquerque and provide a lofty destination for tram riders and ambitious hikers. From here, I see the rugged west face of Precambrian granite, topped with sedimentary rock and, more recently, broadcast antenna. At this end, I see the head of a great elephant gazing toward the west. What do you see? In 2008, I began a series of standard photographs, capturing the same frame from the same spot, over the years about 250 times. A series like this becomes an exploration of time, something no single photograph can be. Sometimes I scrutinize moment to moment, watch as my elephant emerges. Witness this sweep of virga, a rain shower that evaporates before it reaches the ground. Or observe the advance of one day. This series captures the clearing over the course of 7 hours. If it's clear, the early morning sun highlights a vast outcropping. Mid-morning balances light and shadow. By mid-afternoon, the west face of the range is thoroughly lighted. In the evening, there are other highlights. Color sometimes comes up dramatically as the sun gets low. Compare this grayish late-afternoon photograph to one taken just an hour later, when the evening sun streamed below the clouds. Over the course of the year, you can see the swing of seasons. A few years isn't much time in the life of an ancient mountain range, but what about here in the neighborhood? From behind the roof on the left, watch the tree emerging over 7 years. Sometimes I worry the neighborhood trees will eventually rob me of my mountain views. But change can work in both ways. Look at the big tree at center. Growing, growing, gone! Centuries ago, Spanish explorers often named a mountain range based on the saint day it was first sighted, but not the Sandias. Sandia means watermelon in Spanish. Was this the color the Spaniards saw when they stopped one evening? A special quality of light graces New Mexico, something photographers and painters have long celebrated, including Georgia O'Keeffe. On an autumn morning, I softened my focus, perhaps to emphasize light and color over detail. And what happened here? Of all my photographs, the hue in this one is unique. Sometimes here in the West, the wind fills the air with dust or smoke of faraway wildfires. Perhaps something like that was happening. In this shot, rain conceals the mountains, but the foreground is vivid. Do you see subtle color streaming above this tree? I checked a wider angle photograph taken a minute later, and sure enough, the fainter bow of a double rainbow is rising from that spot. If I crank up the color saturation, you can see it better. The variations of light and color are endless. As is the march of rain and clouds through the atmosphere. And oh, remember the Star Trek episode in which Kirk and Spock visit a city floating in the clouds? Well, Stratos has got nothing on my kitchen nook. Sometimes grand cloudscapes burst out of my standard frame, and I have to draw back to capture them. And finally, an epiphany, courtesy of the weather. It's tempting to think of the west face of the Sandias as a continuous monolith. In fact, mist and rain sometimes reveal a series of ridges fanning out from the crest. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll share it with weather watchers or photographers or old-fashioned homebodies you think would enjoy it. Before I depart, I mentioned the elephant I see in the mountains, but there's something else, a vision of the imagination. When the morning light highlights this outcropping, I see something very specific, something that came to my mind years ago.
In 2015, I learned about another local interpretation of the very same feature. So what do you see? Let me know in the comments or email me at paintbrush@foscw.net.
I'll share the results in an upcoming video, the Kitchen-Nook Vision. Until then.